Well, hello everyone. I'm at home and you probably are too. But today, March 20th, 2020, is a very special day. It's a really exciting day for me personally and professionally because it's the birthday of this amazing book, Teachings for an Unbelieving World, Newly Discovered Reflections on Paul's Sermon at the Areopagus. And it's written by John Paul II. That's kind of a funny thing, isn't it? How can you have a new book written by someone who's unfortunately passed away 15 years ago? Well, that's a very good question. And basically, I was told that this manuscript was found literally in a drawer. Found in a drawer, handwritten manuscript by then Archbishop Karol Wojtyła. Probably written in 1965, very late in 1965 or early in 1966, just after the close of the Second Vatican Council, and during the year that was being observed and commemorated in Poland as the 1000th anniversary, 1 millennium of Christianity in that country. And so it's very interesting times, very challenging times, not only for the man who would become our Holy Father 12 years later, but for really the entire world. Great difficult upheaval and movement in society away from God and toward disbelief, toward unbelief. And so this extended meditation on the account of Paul preaching to the cultural elite, the intellectual set in Athens in his day, really kind of mirrors the process that we're experiencing in these days, in these times. Both cultures of unbelief, both cultures that maybe have no room for altars to unknown gods, and yet, how do we live our faith in that setting? So I'm excited to tell you that the book is now available and released. You can get it in ebook format, you can get it in hardcover. And we also have a free study guide that is a downloadable PDF that's available on Ave Maria's website. But the beautiful thing about this book really is that I think for many people, for many of us, it will feel like a personal encounter with John Paul. Any of us who are old enough to remember him will feel like he's speaking just to us. You know how he had that gift, right? He could speak to crowds of 1 million people, and yet every person in that crowd felt like the message was just for him or her. And then we've also been able to add an amazing foreword by George Weigel, the premier biographer of this Holy Father, and an introduction by Dr. Scott Hahn. And so we're able to provide not just the writing of John Paul, but also the importance of this writing in the historical context. It's sort of a preamble to his papacy. It's maybe a last will and testament in some ways. And then the introduction by Dr. Hahn really gives us all that scriptural background for understanding what is recorded in Acts chapter 17 in the Acts of the Apostles. It's stuff that you probably haven't heard before, in fact. It might surprise you. There's so much depth of background in that particular passage. That's not always true for every scripture passage, but it is particularly true for this one, that knowing the historical background and the setting and what Paul is doing and how he's doing it suddenly changes what we think about that passage. So I invite you to pick up a copy or find it online and order one, make it your own. We've got a lot of time to do Netflix and all of that, but reading is even better. And we still have to figure out when we go back into that world, when all of this craziness is over, how are we going to approach the world that we live in? A world that's largely one of unbelief. And so the Holy Father, St. John Paul II, has a lot to teach us there. And I hope you'll avail yourself of this book. It's been a personal journey for me, but it's been very enlightening. And I think it will be for you too, for anyone who reads it. God bless.